Rube, I've been thinking about this for a while now. Why on earth are you on Plant Island? You should be on Cold Island, and Strombone, shouldn't you be on Water Island, even though you're on Cold Island? Seeing as though all of the Mythicals have some mythical mix-up going on, and the Mythicals are based on mammals, I thought today we'd delve into my theories behind what mammals the Mythicals could be based on. The new ones that we are going to be getting. Our Water Island Mythical is up first, and I do think this one is going to be tied to Earth Island. As so far, none of the Mythicals that we've got have been tied to that, and it's not going to tie to itself, is it, the Earth Island Mythical, as seen as though we have all of this mythical mix-up going on. For number 3 for our Water Island Mythical, I would place an ape/monkey. I feel like they could suit Earth Island's colours with this design, with the dark browns and different tones that monkeys usually do have. I think as well, going back to the personalities that the Mythicals have had on Mythical Island and all of the different ones that we've got. For example, we've got Cranchee coming along, who's very Squidward-like and is very done in life. I think going back to that, this could also have a very aggressive personality, seen as the apes themselves do tend to be quite aggressive around other people. And as apes have significance with the hands, seen as though it's always quite an essential part behind them when you're looking at the designs, because it's always a thing that you see in front of them. I think tying it back to their hands, the instrument, or whatever they may use would be a really cool concept. For number 2, we have an aardvark, and of course I have to mention Echidna for this one. The aardvark could be easily a woodwind instrument, and going back to Echidna, actually, it was very surprising that Echidna didn't use a woodwind instrument, seeing as though they've got that huge snout coming from them. It was quite a surprising thing. I do think going on the aardvark design and one small but captivating it around Earth Island setting and making it a woodwind instrument would be very cool, and aardvarks are typically very calm. That would really fit Water Island's vibe and go against Earth Island in a sense, but also captivate Water Island's environment. I could also see this monster being a little bit like to Squat, seeing as though Squat really plays around with the little critter on it. I could see the aardvark doing something very similar, perhaps with its snout there during its sound. Maybe it could get cut off at a certain point when the critter goes inside it or something. And then for number 1 for our Water Island Mythical, I've got to tie back to the lizard. Lizards do tend to be very often the thing that you think about when you're thinking about volcanic settings, and Earth Island, that's just the kind of setting that you want to captivate with this island. And I feel like the rest of them certainly do have that vibe, but this one is the one where I'm like, snap, if you're gonna pick a mammal to suit Earth Island, you choose that one. And with the lizard, its colours, even though they would be suited towards that environment of Earth Island, they can really captivate towards Water Island setting with the greens and the blue tones that you might find across it. And seeing as though lizards do usually camouflage, I think maybe going back onto this concept, maybe it could change depending on whether it's on Mythical Island or Water Island. Then for our Earth Island Mythical, once again, I don't think they're going to tie it back to the Fire Islands, and therefore I think Earth Islands would tie back to Plant Islands, as we don't have one tying to Plant Island as of yet, looking at our chart here. So our third one for the Earth Mythical would have to be an elephant. An elephant for sure could easily be mistaken as a more so water environment one, but yet again, I can also see it mixing into the plant vibes, and just considering Mythical Island setting, I had to include this, especially because of how this concept just really hasn't been established that much inside of the game. I don't feel like they've really captivated on an elephant's trunk that much as what they could inside of the game, and I think it's an idea that they could easily captivate. We've got Boscus, that's probably the closest thing that we've got. Going back to that mythical grandness that we've got going on the island, they could easily make a huge sound from this elephant-like monster. It could easily have a very playful trunk as well, and make its animations cool and fluid. At number 2, we have a koala. The koala, oh my goodness, is very cute. So I just know that this could be a cute color playground for the monster handlers to get really creative with this one. It could easily have a stump, and honestly, I see this koala being very slow. Koalas are typically quite a slow creature, and therefore with all of these personalities on Mythical Island, I think tying it to a slow one and making that sound perhaps a little slower to contrast towards Mythical Island's vibes could also be a very good fit. At number 1 for the Earth Island Mythical, I've got to give it to the badger though. The badger is the one that I just see fitting Earth Island the most, and it doesn't just tie to Earth Island, but it goes back to Plant Island once more, and its connection between both islands, yet also suiting Earth Island just that one bit further, I think is super. Picturing as well what they could do with this badger monster being potentially underground, seeing as though badgers do go underground quite a bit. They could get really creative with how it pokes up from the ground and how this monster's claws maybe integrate with that inside of its animation. For the Haven Mythical, I think this one is going to be tied to Oasis, and therefore the mammals are going to be tied to seafront monsters, with Fire Oasis being built on top of the living ocean. For number 3, we have a turtle, and for the turtle, the main thing that I would be looking for out of this is just a huge surprise. Imagining a monster appearing out of that shell and it making a sound or whatever, just like to Frondley and Gob, and those monsters that really do just surprise you when you first encounter them. I can see this being a similar case, especially with the shell. They could get very creative in making it a drum-like monster, or they could even just tie back to it being a vocalist. Either way, I see this being a cool one that they could get really creative with. So it's got to be here. At number 2, we have a llama. A llama isn't really a seafront creature, but when I think of Fire Oasis, this is easily one that I think about, and tying it back to Haven as well, I just see it being an all-around good fit. With the llamas, they typically go around in packs. Whimsies, for example, is a pack monster where there's multiple of them that are embodied inside of this one individual species, and therefore I think with this llama monster, they could easily do something like that and make it very orchestral. I think with Mythical Island, they're really going out there with Yorstridge, for example, with these huge vocals, and also encapsulating that with an orchestra-like monster, I think would be a cool addition towards the island. And not just that too, but think about how they could integrate that into Haven would be super interesting, as I'm not sure how they'd go about that. That has made it a little lower on my list, but it would be a cool thing to see go about, and I could see really cute ear animations for this, and just a laid-back vibe with this. Not like to Cranchee where it's done with the world, but just that snoozy vibe, cozy feel towards it. And at number 1, we have our hippo. The hippo had to be at number 1 because I can just see this being a huge monster that could easily be as quad representative on this island. We're not getting a full-on quad on this island, and therefore I think we're missing out on that opportunity, so I think encapsulating that somehow has got to be done somewhere. I'm saying this because when I think about a hippo, I think mainly of their mouths opening. If you've seen that board game Hungry Hippo, or hippos absolutely anywhere, you always think about the mouths opening, and imagining a hippo perhaps opening its mouth and making a huge whale sound on the island and encapsulating the feel once again of Mythical Island would be a really cool idea. And now our final island is Oasis, and of course for this one we have our last island to title, which is Haven, which has an underground vibe, so we're going to encapsulate that with our top 3. And with that at number 3, we have a beetle. A beetle I think could tie easily to be quite similar to Humbug, but allow me to explain, as I think besides having a buzzing like sound that you'd probably expect out of a beetle monster, I think also putting them large mouth snappers that you see at the end could allow that sporadic amount of creativity that we've been seeing with the Mythicals continue with this monster. It doesn't necessarily have to make a buzzing sound either. I think with those massive clappers that it could have, that could easily provide a little bit of instrumentation, or maybe even they could tie it back to a string instrument, which would be quite an interesting thing to captivate on. If they did do a beetle too, I've got to have some kind of flying on there. With monsters, we don't really see them fly that often. Well, we do and we don't. It's almost like if they are flying, the up in the air like whiz bang. I'd really like a monster that's lapping or something really cool like Humbug yet again, as we've not had that in quite a while, besides flute fly, so having something like that would be cool also. At number 2, we have a spider. With spiders, we've got to get them large arms on there, I think, seeing as though Mythical Island is really encapsulating these mammals, and rather than Oraculele, for instance, or Ludwig, I imagine, seeing as though it's very captivative on the specific details of these mammals, that it would have these large arms, and would perhaps be on the more freaky side. When I'm thinking of a spider, I'm imagining all those crazy eye colours that you see in cartoons when the characters are just absolutely having a crazy moment. I could see that happening for the spider, and it just be really wacky, this one. It could easily play from its web, perhaps in a similar fashion to Oraculele, this one, or could be a vocalist. Having a bit of wackiness on Mythical Island is a must, so maybe tying this into a vocalist would make it all the more cooler. As honestly, I see the possibilities behind a wacky monster having a vocal sound being limitless, so that would be very exciting. And then number 1, our final one for today, which is probably my most favourite idea out of them all, would be to have Fire Oasis as Mythical tie back to being a bat. Havens very underground, but not only is it underground, it also has its critter, and its critter is based on the Honduran bat. Forgive me if I'm saying that wrong. The Honduran bat is often a thing that I do think about when I think about Firehaven, and I think encapsulating the bat would absolutely cement this down to the T that this is supposed to be tying back to Haven, and I absolutely love the mishmash that we've got with the island so far, and therefore I think that Honduran bat making a return will be epic. And getting to see a monster fly, I think, with this Oasis Mythical like I've been trying to drill in here, I think would most likely happen with a bat monster. And what better way to do it other than tying it back to the Honduran bat? Overall though, I think the creator experiences may prove the trend wrong, and we might get something that differs away from this trend, but overall so far we've been seeing this mammal trend and island trend continuing, and I just wanted to throw some ideas out there today. Make sure to let me know your top mammals that you'd like to see for the Mythicals down below. And make sure to let me know for the Dream Mythicals too, as we didn't go over those today, and I'm sure you guys will have lots of opinions on that. Other than that though, guys, please do make sure to leave a like down below and to subscribe. I will see you guys later though for now.